Hi, I'm Whitney Espich, the CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I hope you enjoy this digital production created for alumni and friends like you.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining today's Career Lunch and Learn program, Navigating Productivity at Work During a Global Crisis, being brought to you by MIT Alumni Association and is sponsored in part by the MIT Federal Credit Union, the MIT Professional Education, and MIT Sloan Executive Education. My name is Fred Halbensack, PhD 94 in Material Science and Mechanical Engineering, and I'll be serving as your moderator today. Naomi and I are happy to be back with you today. I spent years after my MIT education in Silicon Valley at Intel, 15 years or so in the manufacturing big data environment where big data wasn't even a term yet. And after that, I spent a number of years here in the Valley doing startup advising and some angel investing in those years. So as a reminder, our webinar is being broadcast live. So throughout the program, you can submit your questions via the Q&A feature at the bottom of your window in the Zoom toolbar. So feel free to do that now or throughout the presentation. And we'll be answering those questions at the end of the presentation. So we'll hold those until the end. For the listeners joining via YouTube, you can add your questions to the comments field as well, and we'll get to those as well. So with that, I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker and my colleague, Naomi Davidson, 05, Course 2. She earned her bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of California, Berkeley, and her master's in mechanical engineering at MIT. Naomi is a co-founder and CEO at Trybe.ai, where she is helping to make professional learning experience and deliver measurable impact for individuals and organizations. Her career has focused on helping develop leaders and leadership strategies that can achieve measurable gains in productivity. And she's worked with LinkedIn, Khan Academy, Pixar, and McKinsey. With that, I'd like to welcome Naomi. Hi, Naomi, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Fred. Thanks for that introduction. So, as Fred mentioned, I really spent my career developing leaders and leadership strategies to achieve company level gains in productivity, real measurable impact. And I love to apply engineering rigor to the development of so-called soft skills because I believe that ultimately that's how we make the professional world more accessible and productive for everyone. In a world where we can learn the soft skills with the same kind of tangibility and concreteness that we learn those hard skills. And so that's a bit about us. Let me introduce a little bit about Trybe. Sorry, hold on one second. A little bit about Trybe and what we do here. We're a professional skill development company that really takes a different approach to learning. We think today's professional looks a lot more like a business athlete than a factory worker. We all have very high performance, high demand jobs that require focus and dedication, just like this runner does. And that's true on any given day, but gosh, it's extremely relevant right now that we need to think about managing our energy and our time and our focus and our dedication in ways that are deeply inspired by how athletes think about their energy management. So today we're going to talk about navigating productivity at work during a global crisis and what do we think is helpful for you right now. So our aim here today is to share really practical ways to think about your own individual productivity and your team effectiveness in times of crisis and in transformation. We are going to share some practical tips on how to stay connected and coordinated across your teams, creating healthy accountability practices that really recognize and acknowledge the landscape that we're in. And of course, really putting our oxygen masks on, right? Managing our stress with simple and scientifically based strategies to help build our resilience as we manage the days ahead. So I'd love to begin with a question. So it's not just me talking the whole time. I'd love to know, for you right now, are you experiencing that your productivity is being affected? What are you noticing in your productivity right now? And I'd love to hear that in the Q&A. And Fred, perhaps you could chime in there and share across the webinar. What are you seeing?
Yeah, people are starting to chime in, and we'll see. So far, a couple folks saying, yes, my productivity is affected. Some people say it's positively affected. Maybe this adrenaline jolt that we're getting is actually propelling us, and maybe it's short term, maybe we can continue that for a while. Less interruptions at work, people are saying. That's very, very positive. Plenty of room for improvement, need to prioritize. So some folks are seeing some positives, ebbs and flows, longer hours to get things done. So maybe a little more stress from some people.
Really a range, it sounds like.
Big range. Yeah, some people find it hard to focus. So lots of positives and negatives. So it's a range, but there's certainly some people acknowledging how the challenges are hitting them.
So I just want to normalize both of those responses. The impact of productivity is real, both on the high and the low, and we'll talk about that in a moment. We just can't expect to be running at the same level that we usually do, though, right? The goal today isn't going to be to fix everyone so that you can all run at the same pace that you always do, despite the fact that our economy, our businesses, our lives, our family members, everyone has been affected. Really every facet of our lives have been disrupted in some way, and we're all going through various cycles of how we respond to that. So in the face of change, I love this lizard, in the face of change, of stress and threat, no matter how big or small, our primary survival instincts get engaged. And this is our fight or flight. And I noticed that when some of you said you're feeling more productive, this is good, right? This is some of the energy that we're deriving as our primary instincts kick in. We have more adrenaline, we have some more focus. That's what it's really there to do. The problem is that it takes energy to manage this lizard brain, and that energy can wear you out. So when you're feeling low, you're really noticing the effects of managing your affect through the day. And it can actually go into hyperdrive. And so some of us experience this when we really start experiencing disruption to our mental health and other things where basically our ability to manage our stress becomes compromised. But really what we're all grappling with is something that's designed to help us survive and thrive in situations like this. And so we can learn a thing or two, as I mentioned, from the experts in energy management, right? So we looking at this runner here to take some inspiration. She knows she can't run at race pace all day, all the time. And so how does she make sure she's ready to engage the energy she needs to perform at her best when she needs to, and take care of herself in smart ways in the in-betweens? And right now, we all would benefit greatly by doing something that she's doing right here, checking in with herself, monitoring, being intentional. I love that what we're seeing is her taking her pulse, right? That is one of the most important things, and one of the most the greatest indicators, whether it's for a runner or for us today, is to be monitoring our basic physical health. So let's get into some practical suggestions on how to manage our day-to-day in the face of high alert, high stress that we're in right now. So as I mentioned, we're going to begin with coordination and connectivity, how to stay connected to our teams. And I like to think that the core, one of the most powerful things that I could suggest for all of us, and this is really based on, incredibly bolstered by science, is a superpower that we all share as humans. And it is truly our ability to reach out and work across our teams. So this has been studied at the level of team science. This is a quote from Anita Woolley. She's a professor of team effectiveness, organizational effectiveness at Carnegie Mellon University. And she's found that the value of that our collective intelligence is a far better predictor of our team performance than any individual's IQ. And so what she's essentially saying is that our ability to work together is much more likely to get us through a pinch than anyone's particular intelligence on a team at a given time. This has also been studied by, this is a quote from Matt Ridley. He has found that IQ is completely irrelevant, and it is really how well we're communicating ideas and cooperating that has been the engine of human progress throughout the ages. And so he has studied the development of technology across various societies in their ability to thrive as tribes or as populations. And finally, this quote: in the long history of humankind, what has made us really able to get through the ice ages and every other major threat to our species has been our ability to collaborate and to improvise and really band together. So I just really want to say it is our ability to come together and to collectively address the problems ahead of us that will most differentiate us in our ability to succeed and thrive right now. So the number one thing that you can do as you think about going out and working with your teams is engaging. And we show this diversity wheel because really thinking about the richness of experiences and perspectives and on your teams and around you is really the source that you're drawing from. The more diverse, the better. And the more powerful you'll be, and the more prepared you'll be to really come up with the most creative, the most innovative solutions in times of stress. So that's the positive side, just the value of collaboration, cooperation right now. There's a thing that we're missing though, as we've gone remote. And that is that all of those casual moments, all of those random interactions that we have with each other, where we run into each other in the hallway and we have a casual conversation, or we notice that somebody looks a little bit anxious in a meeting because they're fiddling with their thumbs. All of that, those little pieces of information that we pick up in casual or random encounters or informal ways are missing right now. They're missing for all of us. And so everything we have to do now takes intentional effort. We have to set meetings, we have to come together, we have to establish time to make connection. And so that is legitimately more work. So I'm curious, again, would love, Fred, for you to help me see what's happening in the Q&A. Are folks experiencing this? Are you experiencing the increase in meetings right now?
So type your questions in the question box. If you have a comment about the meetings, put it in the Zoom, the chat box. That'll help us distinguish between questions we want to answer later. But yeah, some people are seeing more meetings chiming in. That seems normal. This is how we're doing business now. Fewer. I would say, right now, if you just scroll down, probably 2/3 or 3/4 are seeing a lot more meetings, more overlapping webinars. So yes, there seems to be a general increase, but some people are saying something opposite. Thanks for the questions in the Q&A box, and use the chat box for these interactions. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. All right, great. So glad to hear that some of you actually are noticing a reduction in meetings. This was true before COVID, that 35 billion was the annual estimated loss in time from wasted time in meetings, bad meetings, poor meetings. So if this was true before COVID, this is certainly not going to suddenly and automatically and magically be better today, right? Some of my favorite stats about the average number of meetings before an item might be decided upon, the percentage of meetings that people had where they report that goals aren't achieved, and the percent of time where people walk out of meetings feeling that the next steps were unclear, right? So this was true when we were in at our best, or at least at a better state than we might be right now. So it's certainly going to be true today that meetings are also where we collaborate, can also be a source of major drains in our productivity. And if left unchecked, they can really balloon out of control, and people will find that they just don't have time to get their jobs done. So what do we do about this? Well, there's really, and these practical tips will be available to everyone at the end of this presentation if you sign up for it. But there is really nothing more to it than making sure that you continuously rationalize your meeting load. You have to keep an eye on it. So how do you do that? Run quick estimates of time that you're spending in meetings, right? It doesn't have to be an exhaustive analysis, but keep an eye on your calendar and on the calendar of your teams. Ping them once in a while and see how they're doing. It's important to note the percentage of participation in your meetings. You don't have to be tracking this on some kind of daily basis, but make a general note. Are you running a lot of meetings where you're the only one talking, or where only a couple people are talking? In order to collect the collaborative wisdom or to solve these problems together, if you're getting together to meet and to brainstorm and to problem solve, everybody needs to be engaged for you to actually be gaining the value of that team. So if you're running a lot of meetings and only a couple people are talking, you really aren't getting the benefit of that time together. You also have an important job to do for your team, and that is to advocate for them as you discover whether or not they're being overloaded with meetings. If they are, as some people noted, doing fine, that's great. They have plenty of time to work. If they're not, then one of your jobs is to really be out there to advocate for them, making sure that stakeholders and leaders in the organization are aware of how they're doing with the number of meetings on their calendar, and do they have enough time to get their job done. So what do? You're basically asking for extensions, you're asking for mindfulness about calendaring, number of meetings, conscientiousness about that. Team members, what's my job? My job is to make sure that I am contributing in those meetings. Why am I there? It's not somebody else's job to figure that out for me. My job is really to show up and make sure that I represent the expertise and the work that is my own. And so when I am sitting in those meetings, it's really important for me to ask myself, was I present? If I wasn't and I didn't think that I was needed, in a kind way, can I let my manager know that? That I think that I could actually skip out of those meetings and maybe just get an email follow-up. For all of us, it's very important to be intentional with our day. We need to be intentional now. All of that sort of casualness needs to be thoughtful. We need to be like that athlete who's checking her pulse, right? So rethink our calendars, shorten our one-on-ones, create work time blocks, make sure that you find those times when you can be really productive and that you carve out time for that for yourself. We need to be intentional about making connection time. Maybe at the beginning of meetings, this is one thing we like to do at Trybe, is check in with everybody. How are you doing? Just take a minute to connect as people before we connect on the work. And if you're feeling disconnected, reaching out and getting that time for something fun to do, whether it's bringing all your kids onto the call, inviting your dogs into the room to bark as much as they want. Take that time to engage as people in those casual ways that you would have before that now we have to do intentionally. All right. So now let's talk about accountability and leadership. So it's important to acknowledge, what are we leading through right now? And of course, we're leading through change. So let's take a moment to look at the change curve. On one axis, we have our confidence, our morale, our effectiveness. And on the other axis, we have time. And so this is what it looks like for a human being. This is what it looks like for all of us to go through the change curve. So what happens first is you get some information that something has changed. And at first, you're sort of thinking about this in relation to your past. You're thinking about it in relation to the way that you've always done things. And usually, even though it sounds very sort of negative to say you go through denial, a mild form of denial is just not really being aware or knowledgeable about what the impact of that change is. But of course, we all know people or have been there ourselves when you truly are in denial, like, no, everything's going to be fine. It's all status quo. We're going to do things the way that we've always done them. As you start to realize the effects of change, most of us go through a certain kind of anger or frustration. And this anger is a strong word, but some kind of friction or frustration or irritation around the change that you have to address, right? This is work. This is adaptation. This is what we call in learning, we call it the grapple or the struggle. As you start to go through that, that's actually the beginning of the process for you to start exploring, and initiates basically your need or your desire to get curious. Okay, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to adapt, and how am I going to change? And as you start to do that, you build towards true acceptance and looking into the future and adapting to the new situation. So this is the change curve. This is how people at institutions and teams adapt to change. And you'll notice, of course, there's a zone in here that is less productive, and it is inherently that way, right? It is a natural part of that process. So we can't change that. That's inherent to the change process. And I'm curious, as you look at that, where do you feel that you are on the change curve right now? Are you in a state of denial? Are you in a state of frustration, exploration, acceptance? How are you feeling? And as Fred mentioned in the chat,
feel free to chime in on the chat, and we'll as you do that, I'll just reflect back some of the information folks chimed in on earlier. Impact wise, about half of you felt there was a negative impact, and about a third were mixed, and a small fraction actually saw some positive.
Oh.
On the meetings, 88% of folks felt there was more meetings, and about 12% said there was less. So it's very heavily weighted that way. So yeah, chime in on how are you, where are you on the change curve? And besides the meetings comments, which is totally relevant, seeing a lot of mixed comments, accepting, exploring. I think a lot of acceptance. People maybe are moving through this curve at some relatively good pace. Frustration. Some people still back in the anger stage. So I think there's some recognition of this, Naomi, and I think people are chiming in that they're either in this sort of close to acceptance phase or maybe still back in that friction phase of anger.
Awesome. Well, it's great to really ask yourself. There's no right answers to this, right? This is not about, oh, if I'm here, I'm in a good place, and if I'm here, I'm in a bad place, or anything. There's no judgments around being in the change curve. It's really all about it's part of the process, and you simply have to go through it. What is interesting about right now, and something that we are all dealing with, is that we are rapidly cycling through this change curve. Everyone is, and as we've just seen, everyone is in different places at the same time, right? Because we're experiencing change coming at us from many different sources. We might be experiencing it in our family life. We might be experiencing it in our team, or from a company level, or really across the board, right? So we have so many different aspects on which we are experiencing change, and we're complex people with complex lives. And so in our team rooms, you can imagine that there is really a symphony of different places that people are going to be. But just know they're going to be on the change curve right now, and cycling through it more rapidly than ever. So that brings us back to our lizard brain. Because basically what this means is, this takes us back to what the lizard brain is doing. The lizard brain is really helping us to engage, to know, is this a threatening change? Is this a good change? Is this a bad change? Do I need to fight this change? Do I need to run away from it? Do I need to engage it in some way that's more productive? And it's giving us a lot of energy, as some people notice with that increase in productivity. It's giving us a lot of energy to be able to engage productively, right? However, as I mentioned before, that lizard brain, that adrenaline, that high alert place is a high energy place to manage. And it goes back to that athlete. It's like running at race pace, and you just can't do it all the time. So it starts to become exhausting. And let's look at how you can manage your lizard brain and help build your resilience to its effects, or sort of recover, if you will. So the answer is, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you feel about this, is that you need to build your emotional intelligence. And the cool thing about this, I think the cool thing, is that you can. So what is emotional intelligence? We'll just start with that, and then I'll explain a very simple way that you can start building your emotional intelligence to help you manage that lizard brain more effectively. So self-awareness, self-regulation. What does this look like? First, self-awareness, as simple as knowing your emotions and corresponding needs. So thinking about where you are on that change curve, and what do you need? Maybe you need a little bit of time to not be as productive while you grapple with where you are. Self-regulation. This is about building your own adaptive mindset, your own positive outlooks. How are you going to effectively manage yourself through that change curve, for example? Social awareness. This is building your empathy. This is your compassion. This is your organizational awareness. What is not you, and what is really in the world around you. Influence and conflict management, teamwork. This is social regulation. How do I engage in positive and adaptive ways socially? And so let's just look at a kind of an example. Let's do a reflection exercise to think about, how do you talk yourself through self and social awareness and regulation. So what is the simple questions that you ask yourself when you're building your self-awareness is simply, what's bothering me? What do I need right now? Can I articulate that? Sometimes talking to a friend or a loved one can be really helpful, because saying it out loud it is really helpful. As humans, we tend to be more intentional when we're talking to somebody else. Can I take a long or wide view? This is an adaptive mindset question. And what's the long view or wide view? A long view is basically saying to myself, if I were 10 years ahead and I've successfully navigated this COVID experience, what would my future self say to me right now? What would that wiser version of me say? Or would I even remember this annoying thing that's happening at my job right now? And so therefore, can I deal with it in a different way? The wide view is really the idea of, can I look at this with a growth attitude? What am I learning? What am I gaining? Is there something that I'm building or enriching with myself right now as I go through this stressful moment? So really adaptive mindset questions. Awareness on the social side is very simply, and we've all had this question given to us by our grandmothers and our mothers and our grandfathers. Can I put myself in their shoes, right? Can I recognize that this isn't necessarily about me? And regulation, what do I want to do to either help support, to validate, to help to accelerate people's progress with recognition? Can I be helpful to them right now? We're using examples that are more around supportiveness because we're recognizing that right now that's one of the things that people need the most. But of course, there's other ways to engage in social regulation. So let's look at some practical tips. So for managers and people leaders, what we're saying is you are leading through change. You're leading through a lot of change, and everyone on your team is dealing with changes that you may not even have visibility into. So one of your most critical skills for yourself and for others is building your emotional intelligence. And one of the simplest things that you can do is just make sure that you are listening and validating people's experiences. That is very calming for folks. Recognition. This is really a magical way to motivate and encourage people around you. Every human being, it goes back to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Every human being wants recognition. They want to know specifically what they're doing that is useful or helpful or contributing in some productive way. The more specific you can be about this, the benefit of somebody's behavior or actions, the better. And if you really want to help encourage people to do the right thing or have a positive impact on the team, this is the way to do it. So focusing on recognition and encouragement is really powerful. Of course, you do need to keep your team accountable to their goals. And here, using lightweight accountability tools is what I would recommend. You're probably going to need new tools, and you're probably going to need to adapt them as you and your teams find a rhythm. I suggest using lightweight ones and experimenting and checking in with your teams about how they're feeling about it. And some ideas here are 15-minute team scrums that you can do at the top of the day, where you do a really quick round robin. Does anybody need anything? Can I help you break through any roadblocks? Are we all set to run? Does everybody have the information they need? Or weekly emails with red, yellow, green status that you can do very simply, or in Google Docs. So lots of ideas there. For team members, it's really important for you, as we did right here, to ask yourself, where are you on the change curve? And are you holding yourself accountable to what you need to deliver as a member of the team, right? And so how do you do that? You want to communicate your priorities that you've understood with your team members. Am I understanding that this is the number one thing I need to do? So if I get one thing right this week, this is what it's going to be. Be proactive about your slips or misses. If you are sharing with your manager or your team members that you think you're going to fall behind on something, this is absolutely critical because they're all relying on you, right? And they will value and they will really appreciate if you reach out proactively and let them know we need to adjust timeframes before you slip past. And then this is, I think, the most important thing is be realistic, be kind to yourself. You probably need more time. You have more distractions. You have kids at home that you're working with. You have to make every meal that you eat. All of these things are affecting your productivity. And so think about that when you're giving estimates to your boss or to the folks on your team of, is it realistic for me to complete something on time or in that time frame that you've just mentioned? So this is really the dialogue between you and the people on your team. All right, now let's do the self-care part. This is my favorite part. How do we build resilience? How do we build our self-care or take care of ourselves. So this is a study, actually, this is from a study from Brene Brown, a very famous person. She's been on TED Talks a lot, and she actually is this extraordinary scientist who looks at attributes of people who are able to thrive under certain kinds of stress or pressure. And she has done a 15-year study of people who have been real survivors or recoverers, I should say, from catastrophe. And what do I mean by that? I mean, people who came out of catastrophic events, but really recovered as people rather than being deeply traumatized or struggled with it in fundamental ways afterwards. And so what she found is there's two traits that they share in common across the people who recover the fastest and most and with most resilience, exhibit the most resilience. And these two attributes are, one, practicing gratitude. And what I mean by that is being intentional about practicing gratitude. So not just sort of thinking about it in real ways. And then two, seeking joy, joyfulness and play. So this is like the simple act of doing something for fun. As simple as that. So I'm going to tell you a story that will hopefully stick with you after this, because if you remember one thing from today, this is probably the most powerful thing you can do, is to practice gratitude and seek joyfulness and play. So this is a story about my brother. This is a story about my brother, Josh. Josh and I are very close. We practically raised each other growing up. And unfortunately, 20 years ago, my brother was in a tragic bicycle accident. It was extremely severe. He severed his spinal cord at the highest vertebra in his neck. He lost his ability to breathe. He lost his ability to use his arms, legs, and hands. The doctor said he would never walk on his own or breathe on his own again. He would be on a ventilator for the rest of his life. His chances of recovering just the ability to breathe were 1 in 100. And of course, in a state like this, he was hanging on to life by a very thin thread. And we spent weeks in the emergency room with him as the surgical units did everything they could to try to help stabilize his condition. And so, as you can imagine, it was truly a time of fear and despair for my brother and for all of those who love him. And now here's the thing. This is the good part of the story. So I won't leave you in these dark days, right? But during these dark days, I had one of the happiest moments of my life. About a month after the accident, my brother had started to stabilize. So we could see he was going to live. This is great, obviously. And yet, the nurse could tell that while his body was beginning to stabilize, my brother was showing signs of distress and agony. And so were all of his supports, the people around him, like myself. And so the nurse had this great idea to gather us together and offered to take us up to the roof to see the sun and to get out of the hospital room for a moment. And this was an enormous undertaking at the time because Josh was still in the critical care unit. He wasn't off the ventilator yet. And so taking him off all of those life support machines required us to physically breathe for him, like you're seeing on the news today, these sort of air balloons that you use to help somebody breathe manually. And we had to untangle him from this unruly mess of wires and tubes. And the nurse managed to get approval for us to do this and created an entourage of healthcare workers to help us get up to the roof with all this equipment and breathing apparatus. And so it was a roof. It wasn't anything fancy. We were on the top of a roof in a hospital in Berkeley, and we sat up there and there was some sun. And I looked over and I saw a smile on my brother's face. And I realized at that moment that he had not lost his hope. He had not lost his ability to really enjoy a moment in the sun and enjoy something as simple as the sun on his face. And seeing that was one of the happiest moments in my life. Gets me choked up. So I'll keep making this even better. Here is my brother, 20 years later, still sitting in the moment, taking a moment in the sun. He sent me this picture to show me how much he is enjoying his new home, moving to Sacramento because it's sunnier there, and he's coming from Oakland Bay Area where it's a lot cloudier. And he has worked incredibly hard in the last 20 years. He got himself off the ventilators so that he could be able to breathe on his own. He defied all the odds by doing that. Then he put himself through law school. He got special accommodation to take the bar exam. And he's been working as a lawyer advocating for the rights of workers and the disabled ever since. Truly an inspiration. And I have to say, one of the people who is dealing with all of the change and disruption and stress of COVID more elegantly and gracefully than anyone I know. So a huge inspiration to me, one of my heroes in life. Oop. And so seeing my brother find a bit of joy in sunshine, to find gratitude in something as simple as the sun on his face, taught me something. It taught me about the value in every moment, in the tiniest ways and in the most humble places. And these are the moments that we all have available to us all the time, no matter what. So another thing that the Surgeon General of California recommended, and I love this, is to give altruistically. This is one of the most powerful things that we can do as people. It gives us energy, it fills us with hope, and it's something so simple, so easy that we can do. So her recommendation for what we can all do at this time to build our resilience and self-care, she had 3 recommendations. One was to practice mindfulness. She recommended using a tool for that, or tools for that are widely available. And we'll even share a Trybe tool for this in a moment here, and we'll give you access to it, or give you an opportunity to get access to it. But mindfulness tools that can help you practice gratitude and joy and moments of meditation. She recommended giving altruistically and engaging in restful play and low impact exercise. Just 30 minutes of walking around is incredibly reducing of stress hormones that basically get left over in the body after that lizard kicked into high gear, right? So as managers as well, I just want to help you with the idea, or encourage you with the idea, that you don't have to solve this all by yourself. You are not responsible for keeping everybody healthy and happy during this crisis, or helping everybody survive through some of the toughest times in their lives. You can share stress management tools, like perhaps the one that we're going to share with you in a moment from Trybe, or from these tools that are available online that the Surgeon General recommended. She noted Headspace and Calm. There's also likely to be mental health resources available through your HR department, so don't be shy about reaching out. This is important, and this is a big deal. And then, of course, the other thing you can do, always helpful, is to acknowledge what people are dealing with, and to validate what they're going through. So we're about to wrap up here and open it up to Q&A. But before we do, as I mentioned, Trybe would like to give something altruistically to all of our fellow MIT alums. And we, as I mentioned, we have a tool that is designed to help build resilience. It's a very similar kind of a tool as Calm or Headspace, but it's a little more work friendly, and it's really connected to the idea of productivity at work. And we've built a program that's designed to help people build resilience during this time. And so, of course, maybe more friendly for the MIT audience, there's a lot of quantified self involved, so that you can see, track your progress, and really get motivated by your stats as you really work on what is called a kind of a cognitive practice. And this is what's similar across Headspace, Calm, and Trybe, is that you're using daily reflection, and you're using mindfulness practices to really help change mindsets, shift mindsets, build habits of the mind, practice that emotional intelligence, spend a little bit of productive time with your lizard brain. And it doesn't take a lot to do, and it can be a really effective way to manage your stress. Trybe's system is designed to work in just a couple minutes a day. It's a very simple process of, reflecting on 5 questions. So it is designed to be simple. It is going to be free for folks from MIT, and it is something that we hope will be helpful for you at this time. I'll show you very quickly what it looks like just to use it so that you have a little bit of an idea in your head of what you might be getting yourself into, because we're going to give you the opportunity at the end of this to get signed up if you are interested. So it's a very simple tool. You open it from your calendar. It's not an iPhone app, so don't look us up on the iPhone store. You'll need to get set up with us and to get personalized access. And so it gives you that moment to take a few deep breaths. This is what a lot of people find the most benefit from. And essentially, you open it up and you get 5 questions that really walk you through some of that adaptive mindset thinking, that long, wide view, and the reflection practices that really help you build your emotional intelligence and calm what's going on in that fight or flight response centers of your brain, right? Thinking about your self-care and building your resilience. So that is all that I have for you all today. Thank you all so much. I would love to hear your questions at this time. And I'm sure, as folks have asked in the past, they said, will we get access to the materials from today? Absolutely. If you would like to be signed up for the Build Resilience tool or get the tip sheets from today, please go to this SurveyMonkey link. And we're just asking for your email, and let us know if you want to be signed up for either of those things, and we'll follow up with you. Or you'll have received an alumni survey email and you'll have access to do it through there as well. So we'll leave this up here and open it up to questions. We'd love to hear from folks. Brad, what would people like to know additionally?
Naomi, thank you for this awesome presentation today. The MIT Alumni Association thanks you for taking the time to be with us and sharing your work with MIT alumni around the globe. In addition, thank you to the alumni viewers for tuning in. As a reminder, today's presentation will be on the Alumni Association YouTube channel. Give them a few days to post it there. It'll be under the Career Lunch and Learn playlist in about a week. And if you have any questions, there's an email you can communicate with alumnicareers@mit.edu. So feel free to do that. So thank you. So let's just jump into the questions. There were some great and thoughtful questions. A couple of them around Naomi, the idea of how do we engage team members to be as motivated as they could be in this remote environment? How do we motivate them to take action and to be taking action on opportunities that they have available to them in this sort of disconnected environment?
Yeah.
Touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can go a little more in depth.
Yeah. So the first thing I think that's really important to recognize and to note is they will likely be going through various stages of energy peaks and valleys. And I think I would highly recommend that you talk to them about that. See where they are. It's not about keeping someone at high alert all the time. And as you engage with them and you learn where they are, where are they, you could use the change curve, or you could just talk to them about how they're feeling. You want to communicate with them what's most important for them to do, so that it's very clear to them that if they are in a lower energy state and they are really struggling to get through, that they know what you need from them at a minimum, right? So it's very important for you to be clear with them about that. And then, as I mentioned, one of the most powerful motivators you can use always is to provide very specific recognition and encouragement. So you can think of that almost like as a gas pedal. So if you say to me, hey, Naomi, you did a really great job of keeping to the time on today's presentation. And what you're really trying to do is make sure that I manage my time more effectively. And so you're basically communicating to me 2 things. One, Naomi, keep it up, keep going. You're doing fine with certain things. And here's what you're doing that's working really well. If something hasn't happened recently, remind them. Hey, remember when you did that project last year? You know, one thing you did, it was super effective. I think that would be a really good thing for you to do right now. So really, it's the most powerful things you can do to kind of hit the gas pedal for someone on your team is give them encouragement, make it specific about their behaviors, what made it effective, and why it would be helpful right now. And I guarantee you, you will see more of that activity and you'll motivate them to want to do that for you in the future. So it is important, of course, to give feedback and give people criticism, constructive criticism. But right now, I would say it is a good rule of thumb to ask yourself, am I giving about 75% specific recognition and encouragement to motivate and inspire my team versus 25% critique. People really need to know what they're getting right now.
Terrific, terrific. Just before we go too much farther, just want to remind folks that the presentation will be available. People are asking about this. Either you can see it in about a week on the YouTube channel, MIT Alumni YouTube channel. Also, if you sign up, we'll send you a kind of compressed version of the content in a tip sheet format, so we can email that to you. So look for that. Good question, kind of basic, but I think it's really important. Someone that was asking about this transition from this anger phase to the more exploration phase. Can you kind of go into that? That's such a critical part of this emotional roller coaster.
Yes, this is a very natural, and as I mentioned, anger might be a strong word for all of us, right? I am often not aware that I'm actually feeling angry when I go through the change curve, but it is some sense of frustration, or this isn't as I'm now, what I like to use the word is in the grapple. So it's not what I had before. It's not status quo. And you're starting to recognize it's not status quo, and I need to do something about it. And how am I noticing that? I'm noticing the frustration that I feel, some kind of irritation. Things aren't working the way that I want them to. So the way to help guide yourself and guide others through that is first, when you notice that frustration, recognize, hey, this is a good thing. This is actually me being alerted to the fact that I need to change. The second thing is so that's actually the first sign that you're out of denial. In the denial phase, you're sitting there merrily going like, oh yeah, everything's going to be the same and we're exactly where we were yesterday. But as soon as you start having that irritation, that frustration, that anger, that is the first sign that you are paying attention, and that's a good thing. So notice that also with your team members. If you can appreciate their frustration or their irritation, that's a good thing, right? Don't take it personally. It's not about you, and it's not necessarily about how you are running things. We are all dealing with a lot of change right now. So how do you get yourself out of that? Explore, curiosity. This is where you start engaging those adaptive mindsets, and you ask yourself, can I build a positive outlook? Can I get curious? Can I engage with a team member? This is another thing that goes back to the collaboration question. I have had moments in the last 2 weeks where I have felt exhausted. I have felt like there is a problem ahead of me and I have no idea how I'm going to get through it. Well, I sit down with some of the people that I know who are either great problem solvers or have some experience, and I just start chatting with them about it. And before you know it, ideas are rolling and something is coming up. So don't forget, you have a network around you. You will solve the most complex problems that you have more effectively if you truly engage your team or the teams around you, right? So don't be afraid to reach out and really bring your problems to the people around you, because you'll be surprised how much wisdom there is in the crowd. So explore and think about your resources and really work on that adaptive mindset.
Perfect, Naomi. That sounds great. A couple of other additional comments addressing a question of is this an app, or how do we use Trybe? It's not an app. But to get access to it, either go to the surveymonkey.com/r/Trybe2 to take the survey, and you can enter an email there. There's also going to be a survey sent out by the MIT Alumni Association that will have this link in it as well. They want to take that survey of rating this presentation. So there are 2 surveys that you'll see, and both of them will have this information. But you can also go to surveymonkey.com/r/Trybe2, and you can enter the survey there. A couple of questions related to family and teenagers in the house who might be losing motivation, how to deal with children in the house. These are distractions. I know it's a little bit off subject, maybe you're thinking the business environment more, but these are real issues that people are grappling with.
Yeah. Well, I'll say first off that I'm not a parent and I don't have a kid running around. So I would highly recommend connecting with other people on your teams who are going to be a little more wise about this. But let me give you my perspectives and what I can share in terms of things that I know from having other distractions that might be somewhat similar. So first of all, the reality of what they're going through and the extra weight of what you're dealing with is real. And this is some of what you need to accommodate when you're thinking about planning your work and planning your workload and signing up for commitments and managing expectations around your team, everyone has more work to do. Everyone has more at a minimum, even us people without kids, we have to make all of our meals, we have to take care of family members, we have more on our plates, and particularly with parents, you have a lot more on your plates right now. So I just want to say you have a harder job, and everybody around you needs to be aware of that and needs to manage around it. So I just want to first start with that. So manage your expectations. Secondly, they are dealing with the same thing that we just talked about today. They are dealing with more change. They have less emotional intelligence, and they're really relying on you for that, right? So these are skills that they're going to build as they age. You know, people with the most emotional intelligence are our grandparents. You know, those are the ones who have been through, you know, the Great Depression or the biggest challenges of our lives and really come through them and learned how to manage during these stressful times. But your kids are really on their first journey through. So I guess the best advice I can give is being ready to acknowledge that it's going to take more. Change your expectations. One of the pieces of advice I heard a mother who is used to having kids who are she was working from home, working remotely. She said, you need to manage your expectations. You can't expect to be the same parent, super parent that you might have been before COVID, and your ability to be there for your kids might need to be adapted. Maybe it is ravioli time or SpaghettiOs, or maybe it is, you know, making sure that you just communicate to them that there's going to be times when they can't engage you and you need to be on calls and you can't be there for them in ways that you'd like to be. So there are and will be compromises, and I definitely would recommend talking to other parents and getting ideas about that too. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Fred, you're on mute. Oh.
Was happening with my screen. Okay, we're back. So a couple other really thoughtful questions around, and this, you sort of touched on this, that people are commenting about, you know, this lack of impersonal, random connection in the office, in the hallways, in the water cooler, people who are in certain work functions where that is much more, you know, productive. We don't have that now. So are there some ways that we can, you know, think about using our tools more effectively to get that body language, or maybe we should think about that differently? Can you have any thoughts on that?
So this is a very real thing. I was talking to a therapist the other day who basically her livelihood is dependent on being able to read body signals. And while she mentioned that if you can't see what somebody's doing with their hands, there are a lot of cues that we're giving with their hands. Am I fidgeting? Am I holding them nervously? And we pick all this stuff up very naturally. So we're missing a lot of information that we typically get, and we don't even realize that we get when we are meeting in person. The other thing is, as we mentioned, the other thing that's missing is this kind of casual interaction where ideas are floated maybe in the hallway, or you just see somebody walking by and you're like, oh yeah, they're from this other department, and that kind of reminds me that I was thinking it would be cool to, I don't know, whatever, engage with engineering about this problem that I'm grappling with. So those things are missing. And what I would recommend is, as I said before, trying to be as intentional as you can about making time with people who are different. So I actually, in some of our resources that we suggest, is reach out for a coffee Zoom with people on different teams, have just a casual conversation with them about what's going on in their lives, what's the biggest challenge for them. Try to create these opportunities for some of that random stuff to happen. This, by the way, is such a powerful a piece of productivity that literally the buildings that we all worked in were designed to encourage this kind of random interaction flow. And I know that at Pixar, Steve Jobs did a lot of work making sure that the bathrooms were located in certain areas to encourage Pixarians to run into each other from different departments. So just want to acknowledge that this kind of random interaction has been shown and proven by many, you know, like extremely effective collaborators to be really powerful. So if you can try to preserve some of those you know, random interactions by reaching out to people from different departments, making those relationships, building those relationships through Zoom or through the telephone. I think that's a good idea. The other thing is, if you're feeling Zoom overload, take those calls walking. Take that half an hour that you wanted to get for your stress management, taking a call walking. I try to make sure I have one call walking in the sun every day. So that's something that I would recommend, because otherwise it starts sounding like you meet with people a lot, which we want to manage and we want to be careful about. But there's really just on the information that we're missing about people. This is one of the reasons why we're encouraging you to check in more, to ask more. We're going to have to get more comfortable asking people, hey, how are we doing? At Trybe, we start off every meeting by just doing a little round robin. How is everyone's energy right now? How are you coming in? What is your stress level? And you don't have to engage in it and talk about it deeply. It's just helpful to know. And you say, okay, great. We're all coming in from different places. If you really need, take a few deep breaths and let's begin the meeting. So again, there's no way to really get through it, but we have to talk about it more.
Cool. We have a couple more questions before the hour runs out. Somebody was asking about, if you're not in an environment where you're in a job right now where you have a disciplined routine, maybe you're between jobs or something.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep your career going. What can you do to keep yourself accountable and motivated in this strange environment where we're feeling isolated?
Yeah, this is actually one of the fallacies. This is probably something that people with jobs are experiencing too. One of the fallacies of working from home is it's like, oh, it's so, like with when I'm at home, without that structure, I'm going to be so productive. Well, most of us find that when we go home, whether we have a job or not, we become less productive because we needed that structure. We were relying on the rhythms and structures of our day that became imposed on us basically by our calendars and everybody else, and when lunch happens and all these things. So that for most of us, we find that structure missing, affects our ability to manage our own schedule. And then, of course, if you are between jobs, that's going to be even more pronounced. So I think it really depends on what motivates you. So for people who are motivated by working with others, if you're an extrovert, I would highly recommend that you try to engage in activities with people that create structure to your day, right? Whether if it's about working out, get engaged with them on some kind of fitness challenge so that you're holding each other accountable, sort of build your buddy systems to get yourself through the day in ways that you're making sure that those commitments are visible to other people, because that kind of peer accountability will be really helpful to you. For folks who are more introverted, there's other kinds of tools that often will work really well, maybe more of a one-on-one kind of accountability relationship, less of a broadcast or a social networking kind of an approach. But generally, too, the peer and social accountability will help you a lot. And then I would say experiment with different ways to manage your day. Everything from, I've experimented with everything from being super regimented and budgeting out every hour to following how I feel at any given moment. It's really important to experiment with different styles, find what works for you, but pay attention to which were the days that I was most productive. And when you find those methods that work for you, kind of document them. So I would definitely recommend journaling, using some kind of system to keep track of what did I try and how did it work? Did I find myself being more productive or less?
Great. I'm just going to read the last question that came in. It was kind of complex, but I think it's getting at something here. It says, anxiety in the team is not limited to today's environment. It shows up in not being at the focus of some of the activities at work. So I think what they're getting at here is, a feeling of importance or being valued usually shows up in conversations with coworkers, and you get a sense of that, but that goes missing when working remotely. You don't get that kind of feedback. Any pointers on how to handle that?
Yeah. I think that this, if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think this really goes back to the idea that you need to be talking about things more explicitly and making time for it more explicitly that could feel pretty awkward to you right now, right? For example, checking in about how people feel. That's not normally something we do. We get a lot of information about that just sitting in a room with them. We can tell that somebody's stressed and tired. We can see that they walked in to the office looking bedraggled, but we can't see that now. We can't see what they're dealing with. And so we have to ask. Same thing with engaging with our teammates, information that we would normally be getting on any given day about just how they're doing. We can see that they're really busy on the phone all day long. So we know they were really busy. It's not likely I'm going to get that thing by the end of the day. Well, now you have no idea. So you have to be more intentional. If you're a manager looking for lightweight ways to get the information and visibility you need to set very clear expectations with your team that it is their responsibility, their accountability to reach out and let you know how they're doing against that. But making it a process of working together to find a system that feels right for you all right now. So I would just say, be willing to adapt, check in. How is it working? Give us a rating, fist of 5. Which is that's a tool that you can use on a call really quickly, is get a pulse. Like, how is this new Scrum working, right? Fist of 5. Is it 4? Is it a 5? It's helping you a ton. Is it 1? I'm not getting anything out of this, right? So check in frequently. Find simple ways that you can ask the question. Just be willing to ask a lot more than you normally would. It's better to be acknowledging and validating and engaging and asking than ignoring, because I can guarantee you it's only going to be getting worse if you are ignoring it.
Wonderful. Well, we're at time. I just want to make a comment that the link that we posted here, actually, there's some functional issue with it. So we're going to correct that link, and it'll be corrected in what we send out with the MIT alumni survey. So you'll get the link correct there. So again, wanted to thank everyone from around the world tuning in. As a reminder, today's presentation will be on the Alumni Association YouTube channel in about a week. If you have any questions, you can email the alumni careers at MIT. And wanted to thank you again, Naomi, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care.
Awesome. Take care, folks.
Thanks for joining us. And for more information on how to connect with the MIT Alumni Association, please visit our website.